Hey, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. I was hanging out with my friend, talking to him while he was on his way to before he went to work, and we were talking about the history of conflict between, well, not even a history of conflict, because it was actually not an equal competitive battle. It was actually Japan dominating China and committing various war crimes against China. So I was speaking with him about the fact that in like Japan's military was so terrible historically in the past that after World War II, as a result of Japan's military being so terrible and committing so many different war crimes and basically oppressing their own Asian people, the United States actually banned them and prevented them from having a military. That was one of the conditions of surrender that Japan had to agree to after World War II, and a lot of people don't know that. See, Japan actually has what they call a self-defense force. Japan Ground Self-Defense Force. That's the Wikipedia article about it. And as far as having an actual real military, Japan isn't allowed to have one. It's illegal for them to actually have a military, and that's after Japan lost. Everybody knows about Pearl Harbor. One day in December in the 40s, Japan all of a sudden decided to bomb Pearl Harbor, which was a military installation that belonged to America, okay? As a result of this, America took Japan to war. And when America dropped the atomic bombs on Japan, America had to figure out what to do with Japan now that it was surrendered and now that it had been defeated. So what America did was they actually crafted. They basically were in charge of crafting the Constitution for Japan, and in that Constitution they included Article 9, which says, Article 9, it says, it's a clause in the Constitution of Japan outlawing war as a means to settle international disputes involving the state of Japan. This article also states that to accomplish these aims, armed forces with war potential will not be maintained. Basically, it says that Japan is not allowed to go to war, Japan is not allowed to have a military, and Japan is only able to have what they consider a home defense unit. They're only allowed to have a group of soldiers who defend their border. So if somebody comes and tries to invade Japan, then they have this home defense force. And historically speaking, Japan was a big bully in Asia. Japan is actually the most hated country in Asia, specifically China. They did a lot of bad things to China. This is actually a real Wikipedia article. Contest to kill 100 people using sword. And this was basically a competition between two Japanese generals. They invaded China, and they both came up with this competition, this game. The first person to decapitate with a sword 100 people wins a prize. So this actually got crazy. The game got crazy, and it actually went to above 100. It kept going on and on and on. And they were beheading and decapitating kids, babies, pregnant women. And this is just one example of the atrocities that Japan has committed against their own Asian people. See, Japan has always had this attitude that they were superior to the other Asians. They felt like they were superior to the Chinese. They felt like they were superior to the Manchurians, the people in Taiwan. They felt like they were superior to basically all the countries in Asia. They felt like the other Asians were inferior to them, and they basically treated Koreans very badly as well. Japan actually used to kidnap Korean women and force them into prostitution. And they would force these Korean women, they called them comfort women, and they would actually kidnap these innocent girls and force them to be prostitutes for the Japanese military. And I'm trying to look up something, and China is huge in comparison to Japan, But the reason why Japan was able to be so, because Japan is a tiny island, the reason why Japan was able to be so aggressive towards China is because throughout China's history, back in the old days, China wasn't unified. It wasn't China as we know it. Each part of China, the north, the south, the east, the west, were run by separate governments. So it wasn't a unified China. So it was easier for Japan to actually come in and pick them apart, you know. And Japan actually sent a list of demands to China, and it's called the list of the 21 demands. And this is also an example of the brutality that Japan showed against China. And they basically sent this list of 21 demands to China, and they told them, hey, you know, you're going to give us total control of your country, or we're going to come and kill everybody. Basically, that was what it was. So even till this very day, Japan and China have bad relations with each other. Chinese people, I don't care what you hear, they hate Japanese people. And the Japanese are trying to pretend that this history of abuse and oppression has, you know, never happened. You know, in their history books, they don't teach about why Japan lost their military. They don't teach why Japan was considered the most abusive, most oppressive Asian country in history. And also, people wonder, why did Germany, the Nazis, Hitler, why did they team up with Japan in World War II? Because Japan had the same philosophy as them. They just were the Asian version of that. They believed that the Japanese were racially superior to the other Asians. So, you know, so I think it's important for us to learn these little tidbits about different things in life. And this is also one of the reasons why China is so aggressive, and this is why China is so ruthless towards their goals of success, because in their past they've been oppressed by Japan, they've been oppressed by Europe, they've always been oppressed, and for the first time in their history they're able to be a superpower. They're very rich, they got a lot of money, they got a lot of resources, they got a lot, and now they're trying to up their military, they're building their military strength up, and all of this inspiration for that comes from their history of being oppressed by Japan and Europe. So, peace. Look into all of this stuff.